You've probably heard how the teddy bear was inspired right here in Mississippi, when President Teddy Roosevelt famously refused to shoot a bear that was tied to a tree in Rolling Fork, Mississippi. But many accounts leave out one of the biggest parts of the story, a man named Holt Collier, the greatest bear hunter in American history. Collier was born a third-generation slave to the family of General Thomas Hines, the owner of the Plum Ridge Plantation and the man for whom Hines County is named. But Collier was destined for greater things, something he proved very quickly. At just 10 years old, Collier hunted and killed his very first bear. Following that, his captors forced him to continue to hunt in order to provide meat for the family and for the enslaved population. He continued to hone his skills as a hunter, but with his success came more work and more danger. When Hines left to join the war, Collier was forced to go along with him, where he served as the camp slave, hunting meat for the Confederate soldiers. He fled the state soon after the war ended, however, after being narrowly acquitted in the death of a white Union officer, Captain James King. His travels took him all over the South, where his fame as a fighter and a hunter continued to grow. He was known as a man who stood his ground, even in the face of white violence. At one point in his life, Holt was famously targeted by Louisiana outlaw Travis Elmore Sage, but he managed to outdraw the outlaw at an infamous duel at Washburn's Ferry. By the turn of the century, it's estimated that Collier had hunted down over 3,000 bears, which is more than Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett combined, cementing his legendary status as one of America's greatest big game hunters. And it was that fame that caught the attention of a Major George Helm, a man who just happened to be putting together a bear hunt in Rolling Fork, Mississippi for President Teddy Roosevelt. Helm tracked down Collier and asked him if he could be a guide and a tracker for the president, and Collier agreed. The hunt in 1903 was incredibly high profile, and it had the attention and the attendance of some of the greatest big game hunters in the country. But it came as no surprise to anyone when it was Collier with his dogs who tracked down the first large male bear of the hunt. Collier managed to capture the animal, tying it to a tree until the president could arrive. Now, most accounts say that it was President Roosevelt who saw the bear tied up and decided that it just wouldn't be sporting to shoot. But in actuality, it was Holt Collier, the former slave turned bear hunting legend, who approached the President of the United States and urged him not to shoot the animal. I imagine that Holt understood that it would damage the president's reputation if the other big game hunters were to see him fire on an animal that was tied up. But whatever the reason, the president agreed. And that story of compassion spread across the country like wildfire, inspiring the teddy bear that we know and love today. President Roosevelt was so impressed by Holt Collier that he invited the man to join him on his second bear hunt in 1907, after which the president called him the greatest hunter and tracker that he had ever known. He lived to the ripe old age of 88, and as of 2004, the Holt Collier National Wildlife Refuge in Mississippi now bears his name. It's the only wildlife refuge in the country out of over 500 to be named after a man of African descent. A fitting tribute to the man, the legend, Holt Collier.